that's on the Packers. I don't want to say short-lived. There's going to be other corners they're going to have top 30 visits with. This is just where we're at right now. But that next guy is Mr. Trey Amos. I know
Here's the guy.
I know you've been busy doing way more important things than talking with us knuckleheads on the pod the last few days. We didn't get your take on Trey Amos yet. Before we dive into the scouting report from Dane Brugler, he's in for a top 30 visit. We've kind of been on this guy from the get-go. Like, he's one of those corners that I haven't been able to see him as a first-round talent. Many people are starting to see him as a first-round talent according to the mocks. We would love him at 54, though. What do you think about the fact that they had Trey Amos in for a top 30, man?
Oh, I'm fired up about that. I saw that come across on the Patreon. I was pretty excited about that. It's a good sign. I agree with you that maybe first round is a bit of a reach, but Trey Amos is certainly top-tier cornerback talent in this draft, and that's definitely a guy if maybe we do break the mold and go wide out in the first round, or even if you did grab a 3-tech and you want to try and get that corner early before things kind of dry up. If Trey Amos is there at 54, you take the guy for sure.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. All right, let's do it. 1-year starter at Ole Miss. Now, you hear that and you go, he only started 1 year. He also played at Bama, if I remember correctly. And then he played at Louisiana Lafayette as well. So we've done a detailed scouting report. You guys can go check that on the Patreon group. It's right in there. Just scroll down a couple posts and you'll see top 30 visit schedule, Trey Amos, and we did a full scouting reports, PFF grades, RAS, high school background, injury history, character concerns, all that stuff. 1-year starter at Ole Miss. Amos was an outside cornerback and defensive coordinator Pete Golding's diverse coverage scheme, press man, off man, zone, etc. You love to hear that, Tim. He's played it all. After 3 years at Louisiana, I think that was Louisiana Lafayette, he transferred to Alabama and played behind Kool-Aid McKinstry and Terrion Arnold. After Nick Saban retired, Amos made the move to Ole Miss, where he had his breakout season with an SEC best 16 passes defended. So he's covering SEC defenders. He left because Nick Saban retired. You can't, blame him for that, not knowing how the program's going to go, right? I'm sure he got a little chunk of change in his pocket to go play for Ole Miss too. Can't blame a man for that. A good-looking athlete. Amos is a professional pesterer. I love that word, right? I guess he's a pest to receivers. With the way he reads receivers, crowds break points / catch points, and never stops ball searching with his length. Whether in man or zone, he has a feel for phasing up receivers from different alignments. His time speed is better than his play speed, however, and there is some stiffness in his change of direction. Overall, Amos has an appetite for press, but I liked him best in zone. Cover 2, cover 3, quarters, where he can trust his athletic instincts from depth to read and rally. His super senior season convinced evaluators that he is a pro starter, similar in ways to Paulson Adebo. His grade, a second-round talent, according to Dane Brugler. What do you think, Tim? How do we feel about Trey?
I love it. I mean, kind of the opposite of what we just talked about, right?
Right.
Here's a zone corner, right? I like what it says about crowding the break points and catch points on these receivers. Sometimes as a corner, the best thing you can do is just take that correct step at the right time during a route, and it's all the defense you need to bust up that play. So I think that's a strong suit to Amos's game, is that he kind of has a knack for that, almost a sixth sense for kind of, reading a receiver in a different way. It's one thing to, try and figure out what route he's running, and it's another thing to know when he's going to make that break or hit the top of that route. So I think that's a strong suit. Clearly the football IQ is pretty high with this one, and he's only 23, so all the age stuff goes out the window, right? So he's definitely young enough for sure.
Yeah, hopefully, right?
Yeah,
there's going to be somebody complaining about it, I promise you. Coach Lynn says, which corner is more the Packers type? When you say Packers type, I think of two different things, Coach. Like Goody type, or what would best fit Hafley's defense? Because I feel like there's two different things there, to be honest with you.
We're talking Hafley's defense. I think it's Amos.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you can be more versatile, right?
Yep.
We just talked about essentially what you've got here is Savone Rebel, when healthy, is a better press man corner than Trey Amos. But other than that, it sounds like Trey Amos is better than Savone Rebel from an instinct standpoint and having experience playing in a multiple defense, both cover 2, cover 3, quarters, and man coverage, right? So you kind of cover all the bases there. But you come back to Savone Rebel, a much better athlete, in most cases there, right? Because he was very, very fast, and he's got, I think, a little more length on him than maybe a Trey Amos does. So both of them have positives to their game. If you were to say, remove the grades, look at those two scouting reports, which one do you want? I'm probably leaning toward Trey Amos.
Yep.
But when you unveil our board, you go, wait a minute, Savon Revel is significantly higher on our board. So it's tough, man. It's a tough decision.
I think the Amos has the edge a little bit too because of the lack of the injury concern, right? I mean, we just downplayed the injuries, with Revel because they're probably not going to affect him, but they are there. You have to consider the guy had a torn ACL and a partially torn meniscus, right? What are you going to do? Amos has a pretty clean injury history the past couple of years, so that might give him a little bit of an edge on some people's boards.
It could, for sure. All right, here are the strengths when it comes to Trey Amos. Impressive height, weight, speed athlete, quality play strength, and doesn't get punked by receivers. Comfortable close to the line where he can smother slants and underneath routes. Love that. Aggressively plays through hands to turn catches into incompletions. That's what I was talking about earlier about attacking the catch point, right? Times ball attacks well, doesn't let length go to waste, always on alert, and route awareness continues to improve. Has a little extra in the tank to close out throws. Love that. Plenty to like about effort in the run game. There we go, baby. He can tackle. Violently attacks and defeats stalk blocks. You remember that stalk block we ran last year a lot. Plays on punt return coverage all 5 seasons and had blocked PAT in 2022. He has 562 career special team snaps. You're getting basically a veteran on special teams as a rookie. That's interesting.
Love it.
Yeah, saw action in 61 career games, and his final season was the best one. So you talk about Greg Cosell mentioning players who are ascending into the league. It sounds like one here, Tim.
Yeah, you had me at quality play strength and doesn't get punked by receivers. Like, come on, And then you talk about the impressive height, weight, speed combination with him, right? He's kind of right where you want him to be in those thresholds. And then again, the timing, the ball attacks well, doesn't let his length go to waste. Knows how to play in proximity to the receiver, and we don't see anything about the late hands or the too physical with the hands drawn flags. So clearly this guy's playing with his feet, playing with his mind, and knows how to be around the ball and, turn potential catches into incompletions. And that's what you want a corner to do.
Yep. Holmes MD1 says Amos is the picture of a Packer. I feel like it too, man. I really do. Really do. All right, let's get to the weaknesses. There's always going to be weaknesses, right? Upright mover with hints of tightness in turns. Feet get a tad clunky at the top of routes, creating slight hitch. Can lose receivers deep after misstep or double move. Likes to play physical, but made it way too easy for officials on 2024 Kentucky tape. Balance gets away from him at times, including as a breakdown tackler. Struggled to find tape of him blitzing, so he doesn't have any blitzing experience. Missed 2 games as a sophomore because of a hamstring injury, August of 2022. I'm not really concerned about that hammy.
Me neither.
So
I'm not concerned about him blitzing either. We
Right.
can dial Keyshawn up on a blitz or Hobbs or, Javon Bullard. There's other ways to blitz from your secondary. So, that's not a big negative to me. None of these are deal breakers, right? Upright mover with hints of tightness and turns. Again, work on your craft, man. You can get better. Clunky at the top of routes, creating a slight hitch. Same thing, right? That can be worked on. Can't wait to see him out there with Coach Ansley, So let's see.
Joseph in the chat says Amos/Revel or Jihad Campbell. Ooh, that's tough, man. We got Revel in the 26 spot, right? We've got Jihad Campbell in the 22 spot. Now, when you look at the tiers, Jihad Campbell is 1 tier higher. However, he's got that injury that's going to keep him out for a pretty good chunk of the season. So when you look at Savon Revel, right, or Amos is probably the healthier of the 3. But Savon Revel is significantly higher on our board than Trey Amos. So I would probably narrow it down between Revel and Jihad Campbell. And I would take Revel simply because Jihad Campbell is banged up. If Jihad Campbell was going to be ready week 1, hands down, there's no questions asked, I'd probably take Jihad Campbell over Savon Revel because now you pop him into that linebacker room and you can be really, really aggressive. And all right, if Quay doesn't work out, then you've got Jahad Campbell ready to roll alongside Edgerrin Cooper, because Jahad is really, I mean, he's looking like a great football player coming out of college. He was someone who was an edge defender they converted to stack backer, and he was a great edge defender, and he played stack backer even better than edge defender. He's just one of those dudes, right? So now check this out. What if you were to draft the Jahad Campbell if he was healthy, and now all of a sudden he's competing with Isaiah McDuffie and Tyron Hopper for that third linebacker role in your base 4-3, okay? And let's say that he beats out Quay for that second linebacker. No. Let's say Quay balls out too, right? Well, guess what? Now you've got a third starter that is, when injuries are going to occur at the linebacker position, you would have a third starter to plug right in that nickel 4-2-5 if Quay or Cooper goes down, right? So that's what we're talking about, sticking to the board, trust the board. It's just that injury with Jahad Campbell, that torn labrum, is going to keep him out a significant amount of time. So I would probably go, of those three that you mentioned, and it has to be pick 23, I would go Savon Rebel, me personally. So,
I would agree. I would agree with that. I'd probably lean towards Amos.
Would you?
Yeah, that'd be my pick. But I think you're right, though. It's important to say that with Campbell because, do you want to? I don't care how great he is. Do you want to take a first round pick and use it on a guy that's banged up? Period. Regardless of what you think, you're bringing him into camp and he's going to be hurt. It's tough to draft a first round guy with a active injury.
Yeah. Antonio Universe says the Packers should probably take a wideout in either the first or second round. Amos wouldn't be a bad pick at 54. He'd be a great pick at 54.
Yeah.
He's still there. Maybe they take Burden / T-Mac in the first round. I think T-Mac will be gone. And me personally, Antonio, and I'm not saying I'm right and you're wrong here, I like Emeka Egbuka way better than Luther Burden. Way better. We got Luther Burden with a 25.8 grade, low number wins, and Emeka Egbuka is a 20.6. He was a team captain. The Packers met with him early. He meets the athletic threshold, and he's a top 30 visit. And when you look at, kind of who Greg Cosell liked the most, he liked them both pretty much the same. We both gave him a 3-point bonus there. Emeka Egbuka's RAS is in the 9+, right? And Luther Burden's was incomplete. So significantly higher on our board, Emeka Egbuka. I would be Emeka Egbuka with that first-round pick. Now, if Tet McMillan's there, yes, run the card. I don't think he's going to get past Dallas. I really don't. So, we broke it down at one night, Tim, and it was early in the draft process, but boy, oh boy. There was like 7 teams that could potentially take Tet McMillan before we get the pick, right?
Yep, absolutely. And again, I would be very, very surprised if we drafted a receiver in the first round. I would.
All right. 2-0 for this, rolling in here late. Man, you kidding me?
How many times are you going to come to my press conference late? Sit your butt outside.
There you go, 2-0 for this. Good to see you in here, buddy. Hit that like button if you don't care. We're going to give you the Jeff Halfley stare, though, while we go there. So. All right. Let's finish up this article real quick. Great questions in the chat tonight, guys. You guys are killing it in there. Of these two prospects, both would not be great value at pick 23 based on our PTA big board. They would both be outstanding value if they drop to pick 54. Now here, and you see this part of our board here. These are all the top 30 visits. So you'll notice if you follow my cursor, I know it's hard to read. You'll see Savon Rebel there is the higher of the two. As you can see, Trey Amos down here. But Tim, you notice how Trey Amos is in the gold, right?
Yeah.
That means Senior Bowl participant. Packers love their Senior Bowl guys, right? And he was a top 30 visit. So the reason Savon Rebel isn't in gold, he was not a Senior Bowl participant. East-West Shrine Bowl, but the Packers love that Senior Bowl. Now you'll notice the black spade on the left now. That means not only were they a Senior Bowl participant and a top 30 visit, but they also meet the athletic threshold as well. So you've got all 3 of those. So those spades are going to be like prime for the picking. So right now we got 3 spades on our PTA big board. That's Shamar Stewart in the 13 spot, TJ Sanders in the 40, I think maybe the 39 spot. Looks like the 39 spot's hard to read on this screen grab. And then Trey Amos in that 45 spot. So again, man, I think those golds, really good chance the Packers go with those guys, or at least a small portion of them. But those spades seem like perfect slam dunk fits for the Packers. And notice too on the spades, this is not a part of the equation here either, Tim. None of those three that have the spades have a red box in 24, so there should be no injury concerns there. So very interesting.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
All right, cool. So there you go, man. There's your, like I said, potential cornerbacks at 23 and maybe even 54. Those are the ones that kind of meet the criteria. And who knows, man, this guy may be coming back too. Ja may be back. Imagine if Ja comes back and you land either Savone Rebel and Trey Amos, or Trey Amos with that top pick. That cornerback room all of a sudden looks like a damn good one, does it not?
Took it down the sideline, turned over my guys, gave the football to a little kid wearing 23.
There you go. All right. So
I feel bad for Kalen King if that happens, though.
Yeah, Kalen King, get comfortable in that practice squad, buddy. If that's the case, right? Watch him come out, put on 10 pounds of muscle, and just absolutely blow everybody's mind in camp too. That would be awesome, wouldn't it? 2-0 for this says long snapper should be seen and not heard. This show, quote this show. There was a long snapper the Packers met with, and I almost tagged you in that tweet. 2-0 for this. And I was like, nah, I ain't gonna do it. So.